Okay. Let's talk about Iran. Let me see. I have some things written down here. I'd like to hear your opinion about a lot of aspects of that situation. One, it seems that there are that the Bush administration is being very confrontational with them and not doing much democracy. And I think I'd like to get a better idea of Iran's perspective on this. I've done some research on this, and I've found that one of the first things I guess I'd like to talk to you about from my research is Iran's natural resources versus its energy needs. Does Iran need to have nuclear power? My research has shown that they do.
Well, nuclear power, is seen as a substitute for oil and for all the problems associated with oil. So some of those problems are carbon dioxide and pollution problems. For a country like Iran, one of the big benefits of having nuclear power is that it means you can sell all your oil everywhere else and make a lot of money on the international marketplace. But I think Iran is emerging as the power in the Middle East, and I think the Bush administration and most everybody in the United States, with a few exceptions, have really misjudged Iran. We're seeing Iran as it was back in the late 70s, early 80s, when the Ayatollah Khomeini took over from the Shah. It seemed like a rogue state. It seemed like an irrational state, taking hostages, etc. But the fact, and even today we've got the president, Ahmadinejad, who seems like a crazy person, and he probably is. And I think he's a front. He's not really the guy. He's not the power that runs Iran. The power is the Ayatollah, and the Ayatollahs, and the Republican Guard, and they're very rational. Actually, I think they deal with the world that way. Iran was really defeated Israel in Lebanon. We think of it as being Hezbollah, but Hezbollah is a proxy for Iran. Iran is behind those who are defeating us in Iraq. Iran is playing this very smart. It's not personally involved, but it's working as proxy. It finances and basically controls most of the Shiite movements throughout the Middle East. And I think we've really misread Iran. I think Iran has a plan, and it's a pretty rational plan for basically taking over Middle Eastern oil supplies. And we need to deal with Iran on a rational basis. I don't think Iran really feels that it needs nuclear weapons. It doesn't. It's having a very successful war against us on a whole new kind of war basis, one that we don't know how to fight. It's not conventional war. It's being done through small guerrilla groups. It's being done through organizations like Hezbollah very, very successfully. And I don't think they really need nuclear weapons. I think they have every right to say, well, if Pakistan has nuclear weapons, and India has nuclear weapons, and Israel and Russia, and everybody, we're surrounded by nuclear weapons, why can't we have them? But I think more than anything, what Iran is looking for is respect. It's looking to be acknowledged as a major power in the Middle East, which it absolutely is. And for us to think that we can in any way intimidate Iran militarily is absolute folly. We cannot intimidate Iran militarily. We've shown Iran that we're very, very vulnerable militarily. We're losing in Iraq. Israel essentially lost in Lebanon and left in defeat. But they weren't fighting. In Lebanon, the Iranians are not fighting a traditional kind of war that the United States and Israel know how to fight. It's a very different kind of a war, and they're doing it very, very successfully. I think we need to come to terms with Iran. We need to sit down at the negotiating table with them and give them some of what they are looking for.
And I think that Iran is the situation's being kind of overblown as this nuclear threat. I read that the religious leaders in Iran have said that it is Islamic law, it is against Islamic law or fatwa that to use nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that particular thing, but that is not the way Iran has been fighting, in any case. it learned in trying to fight the Iraqi army for, 8 years, that type of warfare isn't very successful. On the other hand, and that's why I say, we're living in that past, and I said, we still think that that's what they're doing. But in fact, they've been fighting this kind of war of attrition through Hezbollah and other proxies in the Middle East and in Lebanon and in Iraq, and they've been very, very, very successful at that. So I think Iran has come to the conclusion that the big weapons, the big military might of the past, is a little bit like the British Army back when we fought them in the Revolution, that they were still, lining their soldiers up in these long lines, aiming guns at us, and we were taking pot shots at them from behind trees and stone walls and defeating them with a new form of warfare that's similar to what's going on in the Middle East today. And Iran has it down very, very well. And they're beating the pants off of the conventional forces there, whether it's Israeli or U.S. or British or whatever.